She 20F probably wants to break it off with me 23M, but she is sending mixed signals and I am losing my mind. I 23 male have been dating this girl, 20 female, whom I met on a dating app for 3 weeks now. Even though I'm 23, this is the first time I've been in a relationship for this duration, which likely explains my behavior and overthinking about this situation. I plan to share a lot of perhaps unnecessary details because I am uncertain about what the exact issue might be. I apologize for that. We communicated frequently leading up to our first date, and we've met in person 6 times. I reside in a large city, while she lives about 30 minutes away in a smaller city nearby. Our initial meetups went well, and for our 4th date, she invited me over to her apartment, where we watched a movie together. I expressed that I liked her, and she reciprocated. I attempted to kiss her, but she mentioned she was nervous because she had never kissed anyone. I reassured her that it was okay and that we could wait until she felt more comfortable. She agreed, and we cuddled throughout the night. In the following days, we flirted quite a bit over text. On our 5th date, we started holding hands, and she even shared a picture of us holding hands on her Instagram story, which I found somewhat surprising as it felt a bit premature. After that, we continued to text frequently, and she sent me romantic memes. She even forwarded a video that said, "Send this to someone you wish to go to Korea with." After each date, our texting frequency increased. An hour before our 6th date, she went miniature golfing with her best friend at the same location where we had our 2nd date. About 15 minutes before meeting me, she changed our Instagram direct message background from love to can't rush greatness. She had initially changed it to love after I stayed over at her place. We met, and everything went well. We enjoyed ourselves, held hands, and had fun. Now, there's one detail that might be relevant, or perhaps not. Before we met, she had mentioned wanting to eat Korean chicken wings from a food stall after our scheduled dinner at another restaurant. At the restaurant, she asked if we could order 2 side dishes she liked, and I agreed. She joked about ordering the entire menu because she was so hungry. While we were finishing, I asked if she still wanted to get Korean chicken, and she affirmed but indicated that she was already quite full. Still, she insisted we go. She then asked if I had room for more food, and I jokingly replied that I would if she hadn't ordered the whole menu. I bring this up because she might be sensitive about this topic since she has lost a significant amount of weight in the past year. However, she never seemed to mind discussing food or making jokes about it before. After that, she appeared a bit pouty but in a playful manner. When we left the restaurant, I asked if she still wanted to go to the food stall, and she said no but again, with a pouty attitude. Despite that, I started walking toward the stall, but upon arrival, she pulled me away from it, stating she didn't want to eat there anymore. I didn't press it, and we walked around the town. At that moment, I didn't notice anything unusual in her behavior. We were chatting, laughing, and holding hands. Then, we unexpectedly ran into her best friend, who was heading to a movie after miniature golfing with my date. I introduced myself, we conversed for about 10 seconds, and then her friend caught her bus. We continued strolling, and about 10 minutes later, I proposed going into a cafe we visited on our first date since it was quite cold outside. She declined, and then unexpectedly asked me to take her to the main station so she could go home. Initially, I thought she was joking because all our previous dates lasted 2-3 hours longer, and we had always expressed a desire to spend more time together. However, this time, she wanted to leave early. I inquired why, and she said she had a lot to do the following day, which was accurate, as she had family plans. However, it was only 8 p.m. at that moment. I tried to persuade her to stay a bit longer, thinking she was just playing around, but she clearly indicated she was serious. So I walked her to the main station. We held hands on the way, but I felt uneasy about her leaving so abruptly. She had not mentioned anything about needing to leave early beforehand. At the station, I asked if something was wrong, and she replied no, assuring me it would be fine because we would see each other the next day. We had planned for me to stay over at her place again. After hugging, she boarded her train, and perhaps I was projecting, but she appeared slightly sad or downcast. We exchanged some texts afterward, but not as frequently as usual. She did send me a few selfies, though. The next day, I reached out to her, and after a brief conversation, she informed me that I couldn't come over because her family plans were taking longer than anticipated, and her sister had to stay at her place. She apologized, and I assured her it was all right. However, she did not propose an alternative date. Nevertheless, she shared a picture of the food we had consumed the day before on her Instagram story, with my body visible in the background. Yet she did not tag me in that image or in the picture of us holding hands. At this point, I began feeling as though she was distancing herself and perhaps wanted to end things. She had left early the night before, canceled our plans, and was not messaging as frequently. It might have been a mistake to address this so soon, but a few hours later I texted her, "I feel like you've been distant since yesterday, and I wanted to check in to see if something is bothering you. I would prefer to discuss it rather than continue wondering. Maybe I'm misinterpreting everything, but that's how it feels to me." I wanted to offer her an opportunity to share if something was wrong or if she wanted to end things. She replied that she was just stressed and hadn't realized how much she had to accomplish that day. She mentioned feeling a bit sad that we didn't get the Korean chicken, acknowledging that it seemed trivial, but she had been looking forward to it. However, she emphasized that it wasn't a major concern and that she was just busy. She added, "So what I'm trying to convey is that everything is actually okay. I am just stressed." I assured her that she did not need to apologize for being stressed and explained that I was simply confused by the situation. I didn't know how to respond to her mentioning the Korean chicken, and I remarked, "But we were literally at the stall." We continued to exchange texts a little, but not as much as before. She sent me a photo of her outfit from that day and the books she had purchased. The following day, we did not communicate at all until the evening when I initiated a conversation. I suggested going to an art exhibit in a few days, but she said she was busy meeting her sister in the city where I live. I was aware of that but thought it would be perfect timing since she was already in my city. She didn't propose an alternative day, which I considered a red flag. At this point, I once again sensed that she wished to end things, and I stopped engaging and left her message unanswered. However, the next morning she texted me first, suggesting that I come to her city instead, and we could visit a cafe. Excluding the time I visited her apartment, this would be the first occasion we did something in her city. Perhaps that wasn't particularly considerate of me, but she mentioned she struggles with planning, so I thought it was reasonable to invite her to my town since there is significantly more to do and see. I inquired what day she had in mind, and she asked me when I was available. I mentioned Wednesday. It was Monday, but after leaving me on read for an hour, I followed up, asking if another day would work better for her. She suggested Saturday instead. I agreed. I attempted to keep the conversation alive, but she kept her responses brief and didn't engage much. The next day, I inquired about our plans for Saturday and expressed my excitement to see her. She provided the location and shared a picture of the ice cream she enjoyed when she was there a few days ago. However, she ignored my playful comments, which was unusual for her. I asked if everything was all right, and she questioned why I was asking. I explained that we hadn't been texting much, and I merely wanted to check in and see how she was doing. She then shared details about her day in a more comprehensive message, which was the first time she had written a lengthy response since our last date. She mentioned her nail appointment, among other things, and added that because of that appointment, she would be broke and unable to dine out or go to the movies this month. Both were activities we had enjoyed together, which could imply something is going on. I replied, and she inquired about my day. I relayed my upcoming plans for the next few days, but she didn't engage with everything in detail and kept her responses brief. I asked her about something she had mentioned, and she replied that she would tell me about it when we saw each other on Saturday. The conversation flowed into the next day, today. Today marked the first time she texted me first after our conversations concluded. Additionally, something to note is that despite not being proactive in initiating conversations, she consistently sent me at least one meme on Instagram daily. So what on earth is happening here? I am 95% convinced that she intends to end things in person on Saturday because she has been less engaged and does not respond to my flirtation like she used to. However, at the same time, I cannot comprehend why she would even communicate with me at all. Why didn't she just conclude things when I asked if something was wrong the day after our last date? Why is she sending me memes on Instagram and sharing pictures of herself? Why is she waiting until Saturday to end things, having asked me on Monday? I always assumed people would want to resolve matters as quickly as possible. I am uncertain. Perhaps she wants to lead me on, but I doubt someone would do that if they haven't even kissed anyone before. And why did she suddenly want to leave early during our date? I would think something significant must have occurred. I showed some of the messages we exchanged yesterday to a friend, and she remarked that the girl I am seeing wouldn't be texting me that much, sharing details, and engaging to that extent, if she wanted to break things off. But I am not entirely sure about that. I was always very close to asking her if she still has any feelings for me, or suggesting a call to discuss things, but I refrained. I didn't want to pressure her. My friend advised me against doing that, and suggested I wait to see if she has an issue that could be resolved when we meet in person, and that maybe I unintentionally hurt her feelings with the comment I made on our date. My friend said I shouldn't assume that she absolutely wants to end things. Furthermore, I thought it would be odd for her to have me travel to her city just to meet and terminate the relationship, but my friend indicated that this isn't particularly unusual, as most people prefer to handle such matters face to face. My friend proposed surprising her with flowers and engaging in a conversation about the situation. If she doesn't bring it up first, I am unsure how I will proceed. Please offer your perspective. I remain convinced that she wishes to end things. I detest this entire situation and feel frustrated that she got me so emotionally invested after 3 weeks by sharing our hand-holding photo, being so affectionate, and sending so many sweet videos. Summary: we had wonderful initial dates, but on our 6th date, she wanted to leave early and has seemingly distanced herself from me, evidenced by her reduced texting frequency compared to before and lack of engagement with my flirtation. Nonetheless, she continues to respond and send me memes and photos, suggesting that she may not want to end things. What is happening here? Story 2. How can I, 33M, explain to my fiancé, 35F, my rare performance anxiety? Hello, everyone. As the title implies, I am seeking some guidance on how to better explain to my partner the issues I have been experiencing intermittently regarding sexual performance. Thank you in advance for taking the time to read this. I truly appreciate it. Some background: we have been in a relationship for nearly 2 years, are newly engaged, and generally speaking, enjoy a healthy sexual life and relationship. We have very few arguments or major issues, share similar interests and long-term objectives, and usually have sex 3 to 4 times a week. The only recurring challenge we face, perhaps 5 or 6 occasions throughout our relationship, is that I sometimes struggle to reach climax during sex, which leads her to feel very self-conscious and question the strength of our relationship and sex life. This first occurred relatively early in our relationship. In fact, I think the first time we had sex, I had difficulty staying aroused because I was anxious about my ability to perform during our initial encounter. For anyone fortunate enough not to deal with this issue and who may not understand, it essentially creates a self-fulfilling cycle of anxiety. If I lose sensitivity, feel stressed, distracted, or fatigued, I begin to doubt my ability to reach climax and fear disappointing her. Once these thoughts take hold, it becomes difficult for me to break free from them, as I am no longer present and instead filled with self-doubt, which only amplifies the situation. During the first few instances, she was notably upset and began questioning whether I found her attractive, if she was good enough, and so on. Apparently, she had never encountered a partner who couldn't finish, so this was all new to her. I explained as best as I could that it truly wasn't about her, it was me. Occasionally, I struggle with overthinking during sex, particularly when I feel pressure to perform. Typically, she might feel upset for the evening, but soon after, we would have sex without any problems, and months would pass with no issues. It felt like water under the bridge. Then it might occur again. Perhaps I am stressed, high, or lacking self-confidence for some reason, and I cannot finish. The same line of thinking emerges, where she wonders if I find her attractive, whether she is the issue, if she is good enough, or if I am interested in seeing other people. It is genuinely hurtful to hear her express those concerns because I do not want to see anyone else, and I dislike that she questions the validity and strength of our relationship over one night of sex that didn't conclude in climax, although it was otherwise enjoyable. I explain this to her, indicating that when she reacts so intensely, what I consider to be disproportionate when things don't go as planned, it feeds into my anxiety and amplifies my worries about performing well. Next time, since my inability to do so is often met with her obvious disappointment and questioning the relationship's integrity. I suggested that it might be more beneficial for us to acknowledge that if it doesn't work out one night, it's not a big deal, and we can try again when we are both ready. This way, the pressure is alleviated, and I know she remains supportive. With all that being said, we have recently expressed a desire to start trying to have children and have begun researching the best times to have sex during her cycles to maximize our chances. She mentioned last night that we have to have sex every day this week to give us the best opportunity. I did not respond in the manner she hoped. I informed her that I was concerned about my ability to do that daily. She stated that I should be excited and suggested that sex should feel effortless, which I understand, but I wanted to communicate that I don't want our sexual encounters to feel like a job or obligation, hinging on whether I can reach climax or not. We enjoy keeping our sex life fresh by introducing toys, concepts, and outfits for her. We share a mutual interest in anal play. She is interested in making videos, and I have purchased a skirt and a onesie with a butt flap that I like seeing her in, as well as a few other toys we both enjoy. However, she possesses a very high sex drive and could engage in sex daily with or without those elements, although she does find them enjoyable. She has only declined sex a few times due to fatigue, so she does not fully grasp why it sometimes takes me longer to get in the mood or why I prefer to spice things up occasionally. I made a mistake by responding to her comment about needing to have sex every day this week with, "We might have to get some more outfits for you." It came off as though I would not be interested in having sex daily unless there was some added flair. I acknowledge that I could have expressed this better and understand why she felt hurt by that statement, especially when coupled with my fear of not performing. In any case, we began to have sex after we concluded that conversation, and unfortunately, I got too caught up in my own thoughts likely stemming from our earlier discussion, and therefore could not finish last night. I apologized, explaining that I was simply trapped in my own head. This was the first instance in months where I faced this issue, and we have otherwise enjoyed great sex. I suggested we could try again the following day. After washing up and returning to bed, she was visibly upset, cold, and I could sense she was troubled by the situation. She quickly expressed her doubts about us being able to conceive. Please note, we just started trying. This was the first time I experienced this issue since deciding to try, and she just discontinued birth control a little over a month ago. I communicated that it pains me when she reacts in this manner after a single off night, as it exacerbates the very anxiety I seek to address. She reiterated her concerns, doubting whether I find her attractive and questioning why I am not excited about the prospect of having sex every day, asserting it should feel effortless. I reassured her that I do find her attractive. I explained just before our encounter why I felt anxious about the idea of sex every day. We have previously discussed how her strong reactions after an individual evening that does not culminate in climax yet is otherwise enjoyable only serve to amplify my anxiety. I also pointed out that there are no other aspects of our relationship or life where we deem a 98% success rate a failure. I do not even consider these evenings as failures, as they were still enjoyable. It's the reaction afterward that complicates matters for me. Like every couple, we have occasional disagreements or miscommunications, but I have never heard her suggest those areas must always be easy. She then inquired if I believed we should consider in vitro fertilization, given my uncertainties about being able to perform. I told her that was hurtful and reiterated that I don't think one night of inability to climax should define our sex life or our likelihood of conceiving, especially this early in the process. It's not that I doubt our capability to engage in sex daily. I am merely expressing that I feel a bit of pressure surrounding the necessity of making that happen every day, not that I wouldn't enjoy doing so. I am just attempting to share my vulnerabilities about our sexual quality and potential pregnancy hinging on my climax. Essentially, anytime we engage in sex and I am unable to finish, as noted, this has only occurred 5 or 6 times in our 2-year relationship. It consistently results in her questioning my attraction to her, the quality of our relationship and sex life as a whole, and even whether children are feasible at this rate. It is incredibly jarring for me to transition from what appears to be a wonderful relationship with minimal and infrequent issues to everything flipping upside down because I couldn't climax, especially after I have articulated how and why this occurs and how we can navigate past it more smoothly. Yet she continues to exhibit these types of reactions that contribute to the very problem, and I feel at a loss for how to address it anymore. Help, please. Thank you for reading.